What's up, Zox fam? So we got to get into shells because shells are extremely important, and outside of having very specific units, shells are going to be the determining factor as to even if those characters can clear, right? And so I want to jump into that. So starting up with White Fang is going to be the next level up from your Twilight Knight, right? Now, the thing to understand about White Fang is actually going to be what I would consider a set transitioner. So up until this point, you've probably been getting away with just using Onslaught, and Onslaught is just bringing you that lovely 45% on a 12 bonus. But you'll start to notice that just raw attack isn't going to be enough. You're going to start needing to incorporate certain effects and abilities according to the characters that you're using. So let's take, for example, characters like the Ting. What are you transitioning to? And this also can apply to Leon, which I was able to show in the day 6 video. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you do, okay? But you're going to start transitioning into things like Harvest, right? Now, why Harvest? Because Harvest is going to allow you to get, for example, that 10% attack, but then you'll also be able to, when attacking, if the target's HP is above 50%, additionally ignore 30% of their defense. More than likely, more players will have Harvest on their account to transition into first before they'll have anything else, right? Now, when you're looking at the next set that you're going to be looking at to transition into, if we go over to our modules, the next set that you'll actually be looking at is actually going to be the Keen Eye. So let me actually pull this up, right? So Keen Eye is actually going to be a really good one. So its crit damage is plus 18%. So the first 3 instances of damage dealt by Animuses during the turn will increase by 25%, 15%, and 5% respectively. So depending on the character, you have to also understand who it is that's hitting. So Keen Eye is going to be a great set on characters like Ramoka. It's going to work on the Ting. It's going to work on any character that has multiple instances of damage, because each instance is going to be respectively increased. Like I said, 25, 15, and then 5. So that's a way to scale your damage outside of just, I have this attack. Now, on top of that, you're going to have sets like the Fury set. Now, the Fury set, and let me see if I have a couple of pieces that we can look at for the Fury set. We might even have a pet with it, right? So if we find something with the Fury set, so let's actually see if we have anything. Let's see. So we have one right here, right? So the Fury set is actually going to be when you have an Animus landed crit, the damage result of that hit is increased by an additional 12%. This is another set that's going to work extremely well on characters like Ramoka. I would even argue this is definitely one of her best in slots because she does a ton of damage, and you can further increase that because she more than likely will be critting in that hit. So that's that, right? And then of course you have Momentum. Momentum gives you a crit rate increase, and Momentum, the one thing I would say that you have to factor in with Momentum is this is a debuff oriented set. So if you're shifting your DPS build into Momentum, you just have to be aware of the fact that in order for you to get the scaling, which is up to 36%, you need to make sure that you have enough debuff or control effects on the target for you to be able to take effect or take the full effect of that, right? So like, say for example, you're doing Terra Matan, you'd be trying to land like, say, maybe Nightmare from a Freya, you'll maybe be trying to use like Klaus for the defense break and her own unique debuff, so that's already like 3. Then you could have, say for example, someone like Dinah, and these are just different alternatives. She does, the defense break, vulnerability, and erosion. And then of course, if you're looking at like some other characters that are able to give you things, I would definitely say you could consider really those as like some of your main ones. I know Heinrich also has the Last Word, which is a form of a damage amp. It's an increased chance of critting and also increasing your crit damage, right? So that's going to be huge for you to really be able to take advantage of those sets, right? But those will be the things that you'll start farming as you go up, and as you're even in hell, you'll be able to start building those respective sets, and that's going to give you a crazy power spike as well, right? So White Fang is very important. Now, another one that I actually want to talk about is Artisan. Okay, Artisan is going to be pretty massive, especially for your characters that are supporting, because in between in certain turns, and I talked about this in the day 6 video, but I just wanted to make sure this is isolated on its own a little bit and add some more stuff. But Artisan is really important because Artisan is going to be able to give you that extra defense increase, but then also allow you to scale that to give more shield. So this literally can be utilized to keep your team alive. All it really is at the end of the day is another form of a defensive layer. and it's just going to make it much easier for you to stay alive, right? So it's very straightforward in how it works, and that's, for lack of better words, it's just going to keep you alive, right? Characters, like I said, that you can give this to, Valerian works extremely well with this, because the thing with her too is that when she's up, like say she's out of her bubble form, this is something that she can use in between cooldowns if you don't have any of her other skills cooled down yet, and it's going to allow her to be effective. You can throw this on a Biotin. It all depends on what you have, right? Now another one that's actually going to be pretty big as well is actually going to be Gigabyte. Gigabyte is actually probably one of the most important ones for you to snatch, because Gigabyte is going to allow you to cut, right? Now, one of the things you'll know, especially if you've been doing health 3 or health 4, or at least attempting to try to do it, is that things are going to start being faster than you, right? So you need to max out a mythic, pet for your supports, because they need as much speed as they can get. But not only do they need as much speed as they can get, things like Terramatan is naturally going to be going really fast. The right arm is going to be pushing Terramatan. So the Gigabyte is going to allow you to get a 30% turn meter push, which if you're getting, say rotated pretty quickly, it's going to allow you to be able to cut, right? And that cut can literally be the determining factor of whether or not you win that fight, right? And so it's so much more than just, oh, I have this specific unit. It's also about what shell investment you have. The shell investment is going to be the most important thing, right? So with that, I got pretty lucky on mine. I was able to get Surge and Shadow Dash, which is like literally perfect. I did not roll these, by the way. These just rolled that way, and I'm not going to roll them anytime soon, just simply because it's expensive, right? So I'm trying to save every bit of resource to max it, and then from there I'll get into the actual rolling process, which can get quite pricey, but that's something I'll worry about a little bit later. Okay, now another shell that I feel like is extremely valuable is going to be ones like Dark Moon, because Dark Moon can actually increase the duration of debuffs that are placed by that owner that turn. So it's excluding things like Dot, but when you're using characters say like Dinah or Klaus, depending on your rotation and how it might be going, Dark Moon can actually extend that, which that one extra turn can make a world of a difference in whether or not your DPS is able to rotate around and finish something. So that's something that I like with Dark Moon. Is it one of the high priority ones? Not necessarily. I feel like, again, when you're talking about high prio, I think White Fang for your DPS, Gigabyte is going to definitely be high value or high prio, and for sure Artisan is really, really good to have built up as well. From there, I would definitely say like some of the other ones, which kind of transitions you a little bit more into some like PvP, but also you're still going to get value out of them in PvE. Alicorn is definitely like, it can be used, but I would say in that transition period, you don't necessarily need to go for Alicorn right away. Supernova depends on what you're doing, because like if you gave that to say like Ling Lao, that would be like pretty nuts, or Mia, that would just allow them to be like really, really effective in how much they're healing their party. So that wouldn't hurt there, but is that going to be a top prio? Not if you're, transitioning into like day 6, day 7. Day 7, you get your first copy of Ling Lao. But I definitely will say like we have to also like, remember that the mythic pets are very expensive to build. So you want to make sure you're building certain ones that are really going to make a big difference in your generalized progression. So I feel like, yeah, between the White Fang, Gigabyte, and the Artisan, those are like the first three that I would personally build. And that's just because I feel like they give you immense value. As things scale, they're hitting you harder. It allows you to hit harder. And one, it also helps you with counteracting things that are faster. So that's my take there. Okay. Outside of that, I think one of the most important things to just avoid doing is trying to reroll all your passives, because you got to also level them. So you're trying to max level them, and you're trying to max awaken those shells as well. And the reason why you're doing that is so that you can get the most value out of the speed, right? So if you look at, like, for example, my maxed awoken White Fang, it's at 35 speed, right? So that 35 speed is making a world of a difference. If I gave it to any other character, like like, so let's just say it wasn't you know, a white Fang and it was something else and it was maxed out, that would allow that character to rotate so much faster. And in some cases, like say like you're trying to transition into Hell 3, it will actually give you enough speed so that you can actually cut just a little bit so that you can go first and maybe use your unit that's gonna push the rest of your team forward. So this is the point of the game where you're really trying to make sure that you're getting all the the most you can out of your base values. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Again, even when we're talking about some of the content, the shells themselves and the fights, I have videos literally clearing all of these, okay? And even in the progression series, I literally go through all of these clearing them, right? So guys, make sure you guys check that out. I just wanted to get this video out to you guys really quick so I could talk about some of those options, why you're transitioning into them, because that's really where a lot of your progression shift is going to happen, and then gear will come into play. So we'll have a separate video talking about some of the sets, but I just wanted to talk about that. All right, so that's going to be that with this one, guys. All of you guys stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.